Zelensky congratulates Finland on NATO accession.
Here's a summary of the article.
President Volodymyr Zelensky congratulated Finland on joining NATO on April 4, adding that the alliance has become the only effective security guarantee in the region amid Russia's all-out war against Ukraine. Finland has officially become the 31st member of the North Atlantic Alliance during the April 4 formal ceremony at NATO headquarters in Brussels, doubling the alliance's land border with Russia. Finland submitted its application in May 2022 to join NATO after years of military neutrality. The era of military non-alignment in our history has come to an end. A new era begins, the Finnish presidency said following the accession, as cited by CNN. Ukraine applied for a fast-track NATO accession on September 30 after Russia claimed the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions. Until Moscow's war against Ukraine ends, the country's prospects of NATO membership seem to remain low. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg told the Kyiv Independent on April 3 that NATO's position remains unchanged and that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance, but the first step toward any membership is to ensure that Ukraine prevails. Brussels, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg vowed on April 3 that the alliance would continue supporting Ukraine despite Russia's dangerous and reckless nuclear rhetoric. He added that Kyiv can win the war and become a full-fledged NATO member one day.
This post received a score of 32,000, with an upvote ratio of 92%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
So, got any tips?
Do us next, do us next. Sweden, don't you dare cut my queue.
Finland joining provides like 95% of the protection that joining ourselves would accomplish, because Russia now can't invade over land without marching through NATO territory. Any invasion would have to be via sea or air, and either way it would entail a long and obvious transport via obvious, narrow routes. Supply chains would be a nightmare for Russia, for the same reason. That said, we're still joining as soon as Erdogan fucks off and loses his election.
If Sweden doesn't join, they won't get access to the private chat channel in the NATO Discord server.
They get access, they just don't get mod powers like Finland and the rest have.
Mr. President, we cannot allow an emoji gap.
They're emotes, you sick fuck.
That's the kind of reaction I was going for. Smug, thumbs up.
Table flip.
Is Ukraine's ultimate goal to join NATO? Can't remember what I last heard in regards to that.
Naturally, they're in a war with Russia, and now more than ever it is pretty evident that a NATO-Russian war would likely go nuclear. On top of that, NATO has a pretty strong precedent of not allowing nations who do not have territorial integrity join. There's a bit of exception around Greece and Turkey joining here, but Ukraine joining even before February 2022 would immediately have triggered a NATO-Russian war because of the occupation of Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea. That's even sidestepping the fact that Ukraine was effectively in a war with Russia going all the way back to 2014.
While what you're saying is all true, there's a lot more holding Ukraine back from joining NATO than just land disputes. Part of joining NATO also means adopting NATO's command and force structure as well as using equipment compatible with NATO standards, both of which Ukraine even before the beginning of the war were working on, but hadn't quite managed. It also means adopting certain bureaucratic and supply chain standards that Ukraine doesn't meet either. Even assuming the best-case scenario, they are probably still at least 2 to 6 years out from being technically eligible for NATO ascension.
However, as soon as Russia is driven out, expect defensive agreements with US and other NATO countries that will include troops on the ground, even before NATO officially welcomes Ukraine.
My thoughts as well, provided no authoritarian individual assumes or reassumes the US presidency in 2025, of course. And a defensive agreement with the US is in many senses an informal NATO membership.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.